The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to another edition of Insights. I'm Bethany Rishardi. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm at Mich-e-ke-wis Park, also joined by Greg Sundin, our city manager. How you doing, Greg?
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Perfect.
very happy to be here.
So, beautiful day, beautiful park. Do you want to start off by telling me a little bit about the background, the history of the property we're on?
Well, the city has owned this property for a very long time. I don't know when we originally purchased it and then brought it into the city. But I know it's certainly since the 70s and probably even the 50s or 60s we've owned the park. At one time behind us was the ice arena where the high school hockey team and the youth hockey played for many, many years. That was constructed, I think, in the early 70s. So there was a lot of activity here, and plus we had the outdoor rink here. Even after I came in '98, that was here for several years. Even after we tore down the ice arena, when the new one was built, we still had that for a few more years. So it was a very active park. Some of the big changes that have occurred though was the drop in water level.
Oh.
When I came here in '98 was really the premier swimming beach. It was where you'd see all the people coming to swim, and it was a really neat park to come to. As the water level dropped, then the beach pretty much disappeared. You had really, a few years ago, this was all marshland along the shore. The water was on the other side. You really sometimes couldn't even see it.
Wow.
And as the water level dropped. And when that happened, the use of the park, with the loss of the ice arena, the loss of in the outdoor rink during the winter, the volume of use dropped more and more. And as those changes were starting to take place, with the new ice arena being proposed back in the early 2000s, that's when the city then decided to do a master plan for both this park and Starlight Beach. And to really look into the future with the ice rink gone, what did we want to see developed? And so we hired a consultant out of the UP, spent several months and a lot of public input sessions, and we developed a master plan, which is still there, and it's what we try to follow. But since we've done the plan, most of the work has been at Starlight Beach.
Okay.
That's where we focused. We did the pavilion. We did the walls along the walkway.
Yeah.
We did the bathrooms, and we are now planning on a splash park, working with the Rotary Club there at Starlight Beach. And those were all elements that were proposed for that area. But we also know that this park gets use, but not as much as it really should be used.
Okay.
It's probably the biggest use is going to be coming up here this weekend with the 4th of July,
Oh, yeah.
for the fireworks and for people coming down and picnicking and things like that.
Right.
But for most of the other times of the year, it is fairly limited. It's gotten busier in the last few years with the Volleyball Association developing their courts, and that's been a big plus for the park. But we know it can be a lot more. Yeah. And the plan does call for other things, and my goal is that once we get the splash park developed, which is going to take a couple of years, then I would like to see us focus on this park, because we haven't done that, and it's time that we really focus on updating and improving here.
And you got to start somewhere.
We have to start somewhere.
And Starlight Beach does look great. But I mean, even just looking around today, there's so much here. I feel like between the skate park, the volleyball courts, the playground, picnic tables. Would you say that this is a unique park?
Well, it's for us within the city. It probably is, because it's got the largest expanse of what I just call green space as a park. The only one probably more unique would be the wildlife sanctuary, the Duck Park, Island Park, which are much more heavily used than this is. but it does have a lot of unique features.
Awesome. So what has been more of the current conversations? I know you just had an updated recreation plan, right?
Yeah, we do that every 5 years.
Okay.
That's done in cooperation with our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and then staff-wise, it would be Adam Paul, our Planning Development Director, and then Richard, our city engineer, Rich Sullinger, because he does oversee all the parks.
Okay.
And they put together, and the state requires that be updated every 5 years. So it basically is an inventory of what we have here and in the community as a whole, because we have to look outside the city, but we focus on the city, what we have, what facilities we have at every park, and then what do we see as needs and things that need to, projects that we need at each of the parks.
So any specific plans? I know you hear different conversations of the RV park and other things that kind of, you know, people might be hesitant about, and we don't want anyone to be nervous or think that something's just going to change rapidly. So any other ideas, or what was in the rec plan?
Well, the rec plan covers everything, and you know, all ideas.
Right.
But primarily for Starlight Beach and Mich-e-ke-wis, it was focused on the master plan we already have.
Mm-hmm.
So there weren't a lot of changes there. The issue of the RV park, of course, was originally came up in 2004 when we did the master plan for the two parks.
Oh, wow.
There was, and it had a mixed reaction back then.
Yeah.
There were those who liked the idea and those who were very much opposed, and that included city council was split and so forth, and some on the planning commission who had ultimately had to approve those plans. What we did is that this was it was shown in the plan as an alternative, which would still have to go through and get approval before it could ever move forward. If it ever did. It was simply there as an alternative if we wanted to explore it. Either at the end of this year, early next year, we would make a report to council. Ultimately, they have to give the direction of yes, do it, and no, you don't.
Right.
Once I did that, then there was lots of discussion within the community. We have had I've had people come into my office, some support, but there is a definite strong group, I don't know how large it is, but who is opposed to the idea. For us, we are non-committal. We do not have any opinion one way or the other as staff. All we want to do is collect the information, present it to the council, and then have a discussion with them and see where we want to go. It may be that it's all interesting, but it's not the direction we want to go, or it's not even financially practical to go there. Or at least not in the foreseeable future, because we know it's not going to be cheap to develop it. And I don't know how much in the way of grant dollars are actually out there for that type of thing. So those are all things that we just want to look at and then present back to council. I've had people who have talked about getting a petition to go to council, to even have a referendum to oppose it. Certainly, the people have a right to have their opinion and to speak, and if a referendum is the appropriate thing, which our city attorney is looking at to determine what is allowed and what isn't. My only thing is I think some of it is premature, in that let's look at it first and see if it's even something we would want to consider. Then that's when everybody should be chiming in and saying, yes, do it, don't do it, or if you're going to do it, don't do it this way, do it that way. And we come to some final conclusion and decision on the part of the council. So that's where staff basically is right now. We're looking to gather information, get as many facts as we can, and then bring those to council.
And only time will tell.
And that's true.
All right. Well, thanks, Greg. I really appreciate you being here and speaking with us today.
No problem. Anytime. It's a beautiful day. Great day to be out down by the lake.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And stay tuned. We'll be right back with Planning and Development Director Adam Paul. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Planning and Development Director Adam Paul. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So looking around, it seems like we're dealing with a lot of property. What are kind of the outlines of Mich-e-ke-wis Park?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Mich-e-ke-wis encompasses everything, all the green space, all the way back to where there's a creek back here, and then back it includes the volleyball courts, it includes the performance locker, it includes the BMX park as well.
Awesome. So, what would you say the most recent construction has been? I mean, this seems like it's been developing over the years. Maybe not necessarily you've seen everything happen,
Sure.
but what would you say the most recent things are?
Well, the most recent, probably largest change has been the outdoor volleyball courts, to my knowledge. They've been very heavily utilized. There's a lot of leagues at play. It's a very popular event in this park.
Awesome. So, do you think this is a unique park? That's the wording I used earlier with Greg. I just feel like, the beauty, the different accessories that play into it.
It's definitely unique. I mean, there are certain elements that this park has that no other park in the city has, being the volleyball courts and the BMX park. It's different amenities that maybe we wouldn't find elsewhere. In fact, a plan in 2004 just called for additional tennis courts. Well, we have those further up in Bayview, so the fact that we were able to get some outdoor volleyball courts was, it just diversifies our what we can offer the public.
Awesome. So public input has been, I feel, like a huge part of this, which is great that City Council and the Planning Council go to the public for their input. It's a very, involved community.
Sure.
So how many input sessions would you say that you've had in context of the rec plan, master plan, things like that?
Well, back in 2004, when they did the master plan for Mich-e-ke-wis and Starlight Beach, there was a number, probably 4 to 5 very, very focused public input sessions just on these two parks, and they really explored a lot of different areas when they put together that plan. In addition to that, every time we do a rec plan, every 5 years, we have a number of public input sessions. It is a little more diversified as far as topics because we're covering everything in the city, but we always have 2 to 3 public input sessions for every time we update the rec plan, which we just did last year.
Okay, so it seems like this city has a big interest in keeping our parks clean and active, and does it seem like after the public comment sessions, the public feels the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, city DPW staff it's great, and they're very hardworking. They do a great job of the parks. But a lot of what we do with the help of volunteers. What we're looking at here, these berms were planted with the help of the Volleyball Association. They do a lot of maintenance for this area of the park. You might see some workers in some fluorescent T-shirts picking up cigarette butts. That's an MROC operation. They're helping us out tremendously. So. There's a lot, and in the garden club, they do a lot of work in various parks as well. So there's a lot of civic pride with it for these parks.
Awesome. So is there anything that you think specifically needs to be focused on or touched upon? I mean, there's so much talk about advancing the park. What are your thoughts?
Certainly. Well, as Greg probably mentioned previously, we've put a lot of work into Starlight Beach, and I think that now we need to identify what we're looking at for Mich-e-ke-wis. We haven't had a lot of. I mean, the volleyball court's new, but we have a lot of green space on the other side of the volleyball courts that is just maintained as green space. And we have to ask the question, is there other amenities that we can offer the public that they might enjoy more, that we might be able to offer utilizing this green space? And nothing's been decided as of yet. We obviously have a plan, but we also have alternatives. And that's kind of one of the things that we wanted to explore with the RV park idea is just, let's see if it's feasible. I know what they talked about in 2004, but the idea dates back to 1990. So it's been one of those things that's been discussed so much in the community that no one's actually gone out and said, is this feasible? Does this make financial sense? So that's just what we want to explore. And then we're just trying to gather information at this point. No one's making any decisions about what is going to happen. We're very much in the very preliminary stages of trying to figure out what the best use for this green space is. Now, whether that's leaving it as green space, whether that's putting a labyrinth, which was one of the ideas explored, or whether it's the RV park. Nothing's been determined at this time, but we're certainly looking at all the options. We want to get all the data that we can.
So are you encouraging the public to reach out continuously, or are you kind of hoping, let's do our research, let's gather our thoughts, and then let's put it to the public?
Personally, I enjoy any input from the public I can get, one way or the other. What we want to hear are ideas. We don't necessarily want, I know there's a lot of people that say, I don't want this, but what I want to hear is what do they want? What do they want to see here? If it's just, I want the green space, great. But if it's, I'd like to see, a Frisbee golf course, or I'd like to see a kayak launch or something like that. there are so many opportunities here that we can take advantage of that we just want to make sure we do it the way that benefits the public the most.
Awesome. So, I mean, you being a public citizen member of Alpena yourself, I mean, what do you think about our parks? You know, we've touched on Starlight Beach and Bayview. I mean, I can't imagine if we got this one super, super improved, how cool that would be.
Absolutely. The greatest thing about our park system is, number one, we have a lot of them, and they're incredibly diverse as far as what they offer to the public. We've been very successful about obtaining grants for, just recently, the Trailhead. We're trying for the Splash Park. We've been able to get other shoreline improvements, that kind of thing. We've been very good at trying to really improve these parks and do it in the way that we can get it that doesn't all come out of the city coffers. So we'd like to just continue doing that, really just offer more diversity and just try to make, and the other thing is trying to program them year-round as well. So there has been some talk about installing like a ice climbing wall or something along those lines.
Very
so
creative.
And I mean, back in, and this is nothing new. I mean, way back in the day, you can see pictures in Neiman's and of the toboggan run they used to have at this location, which was 40 feet high. Now, liability-wise, probably won't be doing that again, but nevertheless, it opens up different ideas. Absolutely.
So I guess my final and last question would just be, how can someone get in touch with you to share their ideas?
Well, there's a number of different methods. They can shoot me an email, adamp@alpena.mi.us, or they can give me a call at the planning department in the city.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here again, Adam. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And be sure to stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll be talking with Joe Rybarczyk to hear exactly what he wants to have happen here as a citizen of Alpena. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here with Alpena resident Joe Rybarczyk. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. So how long have you lived here? I mean, what's your history here in Alpena?
I've lived here since I was about 10 years old. I took off about 10 years. I've been here now for about 3, but I lived here from about 97 until about 2005, and then I moved downstate to go to school and came back just about 3 years ago. So
awesome. Yeah. So what are your memories of Mich-e-ke-wis Park? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up actually just down the road from here. My grandparents live over just a road down, and like I said, we moved up here when I was 10. I moved up here from Detroit, and when I lived down there, I didn't really have a lot of exposure or access to nature, to wooded areas, to green spaces. And when we moved up here and I found out that we lived a block away from a beach like this, I was very excited. And me, my sister, and my brother, we would come down here pretty much every day in the summer. We would just walk down here, and back then this beach was totally sandy. Wow. And we would come down here and go swimming almost every day.
So I know one of the big things that it seems like you're enthusiastic about here at the beach is the beautification, the sleeping willows. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, something that I sort of wanted to point out in the letter that I wrote to the City Council was that I think that this park has something very special about it, and I think that to make it more accessible to people, that basically the big thing to do is to take what's already here and just enhance that and make it better. And part of that would be the beautification of the park. I mean, it's already really beautiful as it is with the, like you said, with the willow trees, and you know, we're getting some beautiful wildlife over here as well. But I think that could be expanded on. And one of the ideas I had was to build a boardwalk along the beach, from the north end of the beach to the south end of the beach, and on that boardwalk we could have planters with different kinds of flowers or evergreens or grasses, things like that, to sort of enhance what's already here. You know, something that would actually fit into the landscape. And along with that, you know, we could add some installation art around the trees and some more places for people to sit and enjoy themselves. And yeah.
Awesome. So you wrote a letter to the city. When would you say that was a time frame of?
Just a couple of months ago now.
Okay.
So probably around, let's say March, April, May.
Awesome. So I know Adam Paul had just mentioned, you know, he wants to hear ideas, and it sounds like you provided them with some alternative ideas. Do you want to go into more depth with that? I know I even saw, was it like a fireplace set up in your diagram that you made them as well?
Yes. So yeah, I didn't want to just I wanted to write a letter. I heard about the RV park idea, and it just struck me as, taking this valuable park away from the public. And as a child, like I said, it was so important to me, and I would hate to take that away from any future generations. And so some of the ideas I had were, like you said, some fire pits along the beach. I've seen in bigger cities where they've done that. They have the fire pits. And then beyond that, obviously, like I said, the boardwalk that would be going along here would make the whole park handicap accessible. Right now, if you're in a wheelchair, there's no way you're getting down here. And also having a pier, much like the pier on Blair Street, that would go out into the water. Right around the south end of the park, I was thinking something like right here, where you could actually do some bird watching. We could erect signs of the various animals and plant species that live around this area, and do for some education. And then one of the other ideas I had was on the more north end of the park, sort of where the old ice rink used to be, and where that big land is right there next to Performance Locker. We could have a community garden with some plots that the city could potentially rent out over the season, and it could get some revenue in that way. On top of that, nearby, it would be cool to have a food truck court, which, if you've been to bigger cities, you know that food trucks are a really popular thing right now, and we don't really have a space in the city in Alpena for that. And I think that this would be a perfect space for that, for people to be able to come to a park, a nice setting, maybe during their lunch break, and eat, outside in a beautiful park like this, instead of having to do it in their office or at a restaurant or what have you. And that would also bring in potentially a little bit of revenue if the city wanted to rent out that space on a daily or monthly basis. And right near there's a lot of space over there, and you could have something like a public gathering space, like a terraced seating, or something like that for events, for people to gather around. I've scoured the internet for ideas for this, and they're just all over the place, and there's just so many unique, cool things that you could do. And I would just, I'd love to see this park become something like very unique to Alpena. So
did you really get a response from the city? I mean, what was it like trying to, give your opinion, kind of step up and stick up for this?
Yeah, actually, I got a really good response, and I haven't gotten a response from everybody yet, but the people that I did get a response from seemed like they really liked the ideas that I put forward. They liked the fact that I even put something out there, that I put a lot of work into it. I made the map, and also just like the personal story behind it, and why it's important to me. And so far I've had some really good reception from not only the people in the city council, but also various residents that I've sort of shown this to and said, hey, what do you think? People seem to be interested in potentially getting involved.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like that must be a big part, is just having the community on your side at the end of the day.
It's really just about, that's what the park is for the community. And I think that if we can come together and create something that we can preserve for future generations, and it still has the potential to generate revenue for the city, I think that's the most important thing, because when it comes down to it, what we really want to do is create this space for our children and for their children, and have that for future generations. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see what actually ends up happening.
Me too.
Well, thanks again for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bethany.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Insights. Be sure to tune in next week.
Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.